Hey, second grade readers, I'm back again with Katie Wu Has the Flu. Now, we started reading this book in class the other day, and today we're going to use this book to help us with our reading. Our lesson today is that I want to remind you that grown-up readers, which you are that now, who are reading longer books like chapter books, have tons of ideas about their stories. And so many ideas, in fact, that it's hard to remember them all. We talked yesterday about how we want to stop and think and retell what we're reading. Well, sometimes we have so many details from a story that it's hard to remember all of them. So today, we're going to practice jotting down those ideas to save them so we never forget what's happening in our stories. Now, in this book, Katie Wu Has the Flu. I'm going to turn to chapter 2. Now, I was reading this story yesterday, and I remembered as I was reading, it tells us that soon Katie began to shiver. How can I feel cold and hot at the same time? She wondered. The flu is tricky, said her mom. That's a sneaky trick, said Katie. Katie's mom gave her pills to take. Yuck, Katie groaned. Pills are such pills. I keep reading. Katie fell asleep and had a bad dream. She dreamed she was a polar bear who lost her fur. She shivered and shook. Now I'm going to stop there. There's some details in this book that I want to remember. So I know I can jot them down on a Post-it note to help me remember. Now, before I keep reading, I want to think back to what I've already read. I know that Katie Wu has the flu. She feels hot and cold. Do you think that's important information? Yeah, we know she's sick. So that might be something I want to jot down. Katie feels sick. I jotted that information down so I don't forget. That's important details in my book. And I can go ahead and stick that to the page where I learned that detail. Does she like to take pills? No, she doesn't. Now, as I continue reading, when Katie woke up, her mom read her a story. It was about a girl with hair so long she could jump rope with it. So that's something she did. I could jot that down so I don't forget that she read a book with mom and that she had a dream. Maybe that's important details that I want to remember about this story. Her dad sang her happy song. Katie drew a picture of the flu bug flying away from her. Katie's mom bought her hot soup and toast. Ew, soup, Katie moaned. Ew, toast. I'm not hungry. I want to remember that. Katie was so sick, she didn't want to eat. That's an important detail for my story. Katie was so sick, she didn't want to eat. Now, because there are so many details in these grown-up books that we're reading that have chapters, we can take time to jot down those important details in our story, whether we jot them on a Post-it note and stick it right in the book, or on a whiteboard or a piece of paper that we have nearby. It will help us remember what happened in the story without having to read all the words again. So when I'm thinking about wanting to retell this story after I've read the whole book, maybe I want to retell the story to a friend or to a grown-up, I can use these sticky notes to help me. Katie feels sick. Katie was so sick she didn't want to eat. So I'm able to use my ideas that I jotted down on the Post-it notes to retell the important parts of the story. If you think it's important, jot it down to save for later when it's time to retell the whole book. So readers, as we're growing like beanstalks in our second grade reading, I want you to remember today that there are so many details in our chapter books and in our big books that we're reading that it's best to jot down some ideas when we want to remember all of those details. When you're reading today, you can set a timer for 10 to 15 minutes and practice jotting down important parts of your story that you want to remember too. You can put them on a whiteboard, a piece of paper, or if you have Post-it notes at home, you can use those too, whatever you have handy. I can't wait to hear what important parts you find in your stories today.